Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo, and tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Puba, Senator, Pagoda, Grinder, and Bam Bam, a full house of lizards. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some rum, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 6th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We'll also chat about holiday cigar samplers and some history of a storied Cuban marca, among a variety of other things for the next hour. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Foursquare's 2009 Mark 17 rum with H. Upmann's Magnum 46. A wonderful Corona Gorda from H. Upmann, a Cuban, of course. 46 ring gauge by 5.6 inches. And just a wonderful cigar, guys. I know that we all have had a couple of these now. I certainly smoke a lot. All right, let's give it a cut. See what we get on the cold draw.
A little bit of sweetness on the wrapper. Beautiful wrapper.
Yeah, the wrapper's really nice. Mine's a little toothy.
It's got this reddish hue to it.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Let's give it a cut.
Tastes like a graham cracker on the cold draw. Very Grammy.
Draw's a little tight, but expected for this cigar. I feel like that's pretty consistent.
Mine's wide open.
It's very nice.
Just a little bit of resistance, right?
Hair, but I like
bit.
that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, I feel like a number of us have smoked a lot of these, and it's a slightly snugger draw, not in a bad way, but
Yeah, I don't mind that.
You guys ready to light?
let's do it.
Let's do it. The H. Upmann Magnum 46 from Cuba. So these range anywhere between 10 and 15 bucks where you find them. And they smoke pretty good young too, so we could talk about that. But these are all 2019s that we're smoking tonight. A lot of flavor every time on the light.
No ammonia.
No ammonia.
Still graham cracker, but also some spice. Delicious. Love it. Oh, it is delicious. Creamy graham cracker I'm getting.
Yeah, but it's salty too. It's got that
Yeah.
that lip smacking goodness.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
It's a full flavored experience. I mean, it kind of hits everything, which is, really nice on a Cuban. I love this cigar. This is my favorite cigar. So I know that we've done the Exclusivo, which was Senator's choice. This was my choice for our go around of everybody doing their favorite, and this was mine. So
This is the
Love the cigar.
Gizmo favorite.
Is this the first Upmann that we've done?
yeah,
Yeah.
Is this the
this
first
is our
Upmann?
first Upmann.
Yeah.
First
So-
of many.
So what do we know about H. Upmann?
Well, I think the brand history is actually pretty fascinating about Upmann. I'm happy to just walk through some of the stuff I've read that I think is interesting. So, I mean, H. Upmann, first of all, as a brand, is one of the oldest Cuban brands. It was founded by a German banker named Hermann Upmann, who came to Havana in 1843 to arrange business affairs for an import-export business he was working for based in Germany. Interestingly, while Upmann was in Cuba, before he ever made a cigar, he's actually credited with inventing packaging cigars in cedar boxes that we love and all like to store and age our cigars in today. The original boxes that he made were labeled with H. Upmann, his name on it, and he put actually other manufacturers' cigars in it, would apparently give it to clients and just people that he was sort of entertaining. Fast forward then, a year later, he buys a local cigar factory in Havana, began producing cigars under the Upmann brand in 1844. At the same time, he began a banking business, initially catering to tobacco dealers and manufacturers in Havana. Upmann ran the business until 1890, and when he retired, what was fascinating is it was actually a family business for a few generations. So he handed the business over to his nephew, Heinrich Upmann, who operated the business until he died in 1914. And then his nephew handed it over to his two nephews, Herman Upmann, another Herman Upmann in the family, and Alberto Upmann. And the two of them ran it from there on, and then the rest goes on from there. The craziest part of the Upmann brand history, so there was a period of time where Upmann was, let's say, was a dark point in the brand history in Cuba because Herman Upmann committed espionage. So during World War I, in 1914, the Upmann businesses in Cuba, so he had the bank, he had the cigar business, and then apparently also had some business in the U.S., he concealed the workings of the German intelligence network through these businesses. They actually had German agents that he would have come through and house as Germany was trying to collect intelligence. And so you fast forward to 1917 when Cuba declared war on Germany, and the Upmann Bank, they shut down for 30 straight months during this. In 1917, the Upmann Company was named to the United States' first enemy trading list. All of Herman Upmann's assets were frozen in the U.S. Eventually, in Cuba, him and his brother were placed under house arrest. And then finally, when tensions de-escalated, he was free and was able to continue running the cigar business. But there was this very dark period during World War I where he was sort of persona non grata in Cuba as he was operating one of the most legendary cigar brands.
It's fascinating.
That is fascinating.
It's unbelievable.
So was he a carrier of microfiche? Is that what you're saying?
There were no USB drives to load up then, but I'm sure he was doing a little bit of that.
It's a delicious, this is such a delicious cigar. I'm getting hints of all the other Upmanns that we love to smoke and we can talk about. What are you guys getting right now?
Continued creamy graham cracker.
Some cedar,
Yeah, I'm getting cedar.
little sweetness.
Great combustion, great
Cocoa.
smoke output. Very nice. So we're pairing this tonight with the Foursquare 2009 Mark 17 rum, which is cask strength, 120 proof, 60% by.
Wow.
Let's be careful.
I'm excited.
Strap in, boys.
Yeah. Can I ask Senator a question?
Before
Do you have cots available?
It's a lot smoother than you think.
I have to say, Senator poured me quite a gratuitous.
I did not pour for the
That
record.
was a gizmo
that was a
pour.
gizmo pour.
Gizmo poured me very generous.
That was a gizmo sink pour.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
It smells wonderful.
Yeah,
Wow. It smells like Christmas.
it does smell.
Oh
like
my
Christmas.
God.
So it's a very, so this is a really true spirit. It's a true Barbados rum. And what makes it really interesting is that, so first off, it's a limited release. And every year, Foursquare Distillery out of Barbados, which is run by Richard Seal, who's a fourth generation distiller out of Barbados. This is 30,000 bottles. The allocation basically goes, the majority of it goes to the US and UK. This stuff sells out pretty quick. This is a 12-year-old bottle, and this is a legitimate age statement on this bottle. The rum is aged in ex-cask bourbon barrels. This particular Mark 17, this batch, but they also age their rum in bourbon barrels. They age releases in cognac barrels. They age releases in sherry barrels, French oak, Zinfandel, and even in Syrah barrels. So they really, so Richard Seal has kind of done this thing where he's kind of declared war on the rum business, because there's this notion in the world of rum where, sorry, I had to take a draw off the cigar, where rum kind of doesn't have rules, like maybe Scotch, cognac, bourbon, and wine has rules. And basically his whole ethos, which he went on this journey into the market in 1994. their family's been involved with the sugarcane farm. Rum is made from the source material is sugarcane, but there's no added sugar, and there's no added color, and there's no additives into this spirit. It's a true spirit. Most of the rums that you're going to see on the market have additives. They have added sugar with fancy labeling and actually misleading label statements. And this is, so he's really declared war since 1994 on the industry, saying like, no, like that Bacardi with the fancy label and some of this other stuff is really just the more sugar they add, the more they charge. And his point of view and his argument is that adding sugar to rum creates this illusion that it's like covertly sweetened, and it's like deceptive, that you're drinking a straight spirit and creating this false loyalty and these questionable and false age claims. So that's really the heart of what they do. And also some of the things that go into this process is the water on Barbados is actually particularly good, like in Scotland. You know, the water that they're using, the starting material that they use to make these batches is limestone filtered water. There's a lot of limestone on Barbados, and that rainwater is collected, and they use the best water that they can find and go through the fermentation process, the distillation process. And one of the unique things that they do is they actually, after the distillation process, they use a couple different types of pots. They use coffee pots, they use copper pots, they do different things. And they actually blend after the distillation process, and then they barrel it and proceed on with the aging process and proceed to barrel to bottling, which is interesting. So it's a nice spirit, and I like it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's
just
try it.
just the description and knowing the cigar, the balance of sweetness, spice, and just smoothness. I know it's gonna, I'm sure it's gonna pair fantastically.
I hope so. I like it.
Here we
Let's
go.
give it a sip. Foursquare, 2009, Mark 17, 12-year aged.
I mean, I definitely taste the enhanced
Wow.
alcohol content.
Wow. But it's so smooth, though.
It is very smooth,
It's delicious.
naturally sweet.
Puba, delicious.
I don't get the spice though. It's just too smooth to be spicy.
I agree. I actually really, really like this. Full flavor, smooth delivery, especially at, 60% alcohol. I mean, that stuff will kill you. I mean,
You'd
you'd
expect
it to really kick your ass, and it doesn't. It's
No.
actually a very smooth delivery for a cask strength rum. And I love the sort of brand story that you told and the ethos, because I do enjoy rum, and I actually have some Caribbean blood in me. And the only other brand that I know of in the Caribbean that doesn't add any sugar, period, to their rum, any additives. And ironically, the whole limestone filtered water, like the stories are so similar, is Appleton Estate. And flavor profile wise, it's also pot stilled. Their rums, it's very similar to this. And I like Appleton Estate, a Jamaican rum. And this I would put right up there with it. Excellent.
Yeah, from all the research that I've done, I'm not, we drink a lot of scotch here. We drink wine. From all the research that I've done, Foursquare and Richard Seal, he's up there with the greatest rum distillers in the world. And it's pretty interesting, and it's a nice change of pace, I think, and it pairs well with the cigar.
I would drink this more often now. It is so good. I'm surprised how good it is. It's delicious, tasty, smooth. Goes great with a cigar. Wow.
I am surprised.
I'm blown away.
I'm surprised in the pairing between rum and a cigar. I mean, to me, I would put that on my novice understanding of alcohol. I'm a Scotch guy, obviously. I like, champagne. I like other things, but I would never have put rum at the top of that list. And this is pairing brilliantly with the cigar.
Well, I think it goes back to like with like, Cuban cigars, are obviously Cuban. Rum is a very Cuban, spirit. You speak to any Cuban, instead of drinking a scotch at the end of the day, they'll have a glass of rum. I think it speaks to what we were talking about in previous episodes, or even generally taking the different. I don't know if it's terroir or if what the right word is, but it's coming from the same source in a way. That same aquifer water that's we're drinking is also the same life-giving source for the leaves of the tobacco. And I think that kind of balances. I don't know. It's a hypothesis I have. It may not be true, but you can surmise it might be.
Could I get this at any bar? Do they have this stocked?
No, they're not. You're probably not going to be able to find Foursquare by the glass unless you're really at a place where they're got to figure 30,000 bottles. Like I went to Bottle King today. There were 2 bottles left.
What does this run a bottle?
It's 90.
Wow.
I would have expected it to be more.
It's not. Oh, there are ones that are more. I mean, this particular release is 90, but there's other releases that are more limited that are 120, 140.
Wow.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm going to get fucked up tonight. I mean, it's like punch. This is like drinking a kid's drink. It's so good.
But do you notice though, the thing that I noticed about it as we're thinking about it and tasting it is that it's much drier than what you'd anticipate. When you think of rum, most rum, probably 90% of what you're drinking has added sugar. All the sweetness comes from. So this distillery is on a sugarcane farm. All rum's made from sugarcane and different kind of byproducts of it, whether it's the liquid, molasses, and even sugarcane syrup. But what makes this different is they do not add refined sugar. They do not add sugar to this, and that's what you're getting if you drink a Diplomatico. Okay, which to me, listeners, if you like Diplomatico, feel free to hate me, but it's shit. It is absolute shit. This is an actual spirit that's distilled in an artisanal way, and it's really something to be enjoyed. And I would recommend, if you have a chance to have this with a cigar, it really pairs up really quite nicely. And you don't have to pound it. It just like kind of cleanses the palate and gives you that kind of sweetness. And I think it's a really nice change of pace.
And you don't have to dump the end of your cigar in the rum, right? That's still a faux pas.
I will admit, when I first started buying this, and I really only bought it because I'll just be honest, I did no research on it, and I started buying this over the summer, and I'd buy a couple bottles at a time from Bottle King, and I'd sit on my porch and I would drink this, and have a cigar. And at the end of the night, I'd be like, "Oh my!" I never looked. I never looked at the label and saw that it was 120 proof. And I'd walk in the house. What's wrong with you? And I'd be like, I don't know. I just and I just had a drink. Well, yeah, because you're basically.
That's the thing that's funny. In the Caribbean, they're known for these overproof rums, right? Over 40%. This is 60%. You can find the Caribbean 100% rum, 100% alcohol rum. And that's entirely normal. And what's remarkable about it is it's not crazy strong and intense where you feel it when you're sipping it in a bad way. You have some of these cast strength bourbons or whatever the case may be, and you've got to sip it so slowly because it just feels like your esophagus is just completely incinerated when you're drinking this. And with some of these rums, it's really remarkable. I remember my grandparents would bring back, because you couldn't get it in the US, some of these Caribbean rums and things like that, and they're way overproof, and they're very smooth for the punch they pack. So I think a lot of people have been in the same situation, Booba.
Absolutely.
I'm getting strong Jack Sparrow vibes right now. But
I've
why
al-
is the rum gone?
I've always associated rum with like pirates and
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like
What the hell?
I'm hearing the Pirates of the Caribbean theme in my head.
Get
You
the hell
know?
out of here.
But this shit is
Yeah,
but this shit is premium. It's really good stuff.
man.
I'm
We
not a
live the
rum
good
guy,
life
but
on the island, man.
It is. And to Puba's point about how this is, a limited production type of thing, they don't distribute as far and wide as a lot of other spirits do. I mean, you go into a bar, to Bam's question of can you find this in a bar? No. And can you actually find a lot of good rums in bars? No. You're going to find the things that are owned by Diageo and that are very widely distributed, like Bacardi and these others. You're not going to find a whole lot else. So you've got to be really purposeful in seeking out a rum bar that you may find some of the really nice higher end stuff like this. But it's not as easy as a lot of other spirits.
What is a good rum that you can find in the bar? So in the absence of a Foursquare, what's a good rum you can find in a bar?
You know, I'm not sure. To be honest, there is a rum called John D. Taylor, and there's a rum called Dorley that fall under the Foursquare masthead. That's a little bit that's younger, that's not as strong. So those are ones maybe we can seek out and review. That are distilled at the Foursquare distillery. They distill a couple of different labels that were about to go, that they saved, that were about to go out of business, and they actually saved those kind of their approaches to rum and brought them into the Foursquare distillery in Barbados and have kept those brands alive. And a lot of those brands are really like 3 and 5 year aged rum that are used in some of the most famous cocktails, in the Caribbean.
I always found Mount Gay to actually be a good rum that you can get at any bar.
It's pretty well known.
Yeah,
Right?
it's not Bacardi, but I've always found Mount Gay to be a pretty solid bet. You can you can sip it, and enjoy it. I don't know if that's who makes that or who distills that.
It's also from Barbados, Mount Gay.
Is it?
I mean, I would argue that Barbados and Jamaica make the best rums, period. Those are like the only two islands I would actually drink rum from.
Yes, you're right. And Barbados has some standards. They have some. They're trying to.
Same with Jamaica. That's what I'm saying. They're very similar.
Yeah,
They're really anal about rums have to meet these specific criteria.
right. Because what ends up happening is these age statements that are being put on bottles are bullshit. So like other brands will actually take something that's like that they say that's sat in a barrel for 25 years, and they'll put a few ounces in there and then fill the rest up with whatever and call it 12-year aged. So this is the war that Richard Seal has waged on the rum industry that he's made some waves about.
Ron Zacapa is another well-known. I don't know what kind of a rum it is. And the other question I have is, why do they add sugar? If it's made from sugarcane and molasses, why do they feel the need to add sugar?
To make it taste
Sweeter?
better sweeter for the consumer.
Well, think of it this way: the distillation process wipes out the actual sweetness that you would think would come from distilling it from sugar. So like just distilling it from sugar doesn't mean it's going to be sweet at all, frankly. There's going to be some elements that are flavor profiles, I'm sure, but that doesn't mean it's sweet. And you have these brands that, I mean, I get kind of worked up about it, but Casamigos is a brand that we talk about here that, you have some celebrities that come in and say, we're going to make a rum. They just fucking slam a bunch of sugar in it and say, this is our brand. And, they attach their brand to it, their image or their celebrity profile to it, and they sell it and it moves because, Western capitalism, of course it is. And that's the case. But the reality is it's not, to your point earlier on what this is, it's not true to the original, flavor profile of a true rum. And I'm sure, I didn't know about what you were just saying about some of these other brands that take a very aged portion of it, dump it into something else and blend it and then take the kind of weighted average of it. You know, that's really messed up.
Yeah, but to Rooster's question on, you know, why do these companies add sugar? It's no different in wine, right? The tell when you have a cheap wine that you take a sip of and you say, well, that's very smooth, but it's really sweet. They add residual sugar, and at least in wine, you have to disclose if you're adding residual sugar, but of course it's in like tiny, tiny print, or sometimes not even on the bottle, and you have to actually go to the brand page to see it. But no different than in rum, they do it because it smooths out all the rough edges. So a really good 12-year age rum like this, or a really good bottle of wine that's got some age on it, the age, just like cigars, it will smooth those rough edges out. And what some of these companies do that are trying to produce a really cheap product that people are just going to go and buy, they just add sugar and make it sweeter so that it masks all those rough edges and imperfections. And that's why you see that happen.
So we're coming into the second third here. For me, it's smoking great combustion, great flavor. How's it working for you guys?
Fantastic as always. This particular line cigars.
I had a beautiful white ash hanging on for dear life the first third.
Me
It
too.
was great even burn. The flavors are still nice and consistent. I'm enjoying this.
My only comment on this is that it's not, and I don't smoke this as much, but it's not very smoky.
You're saying from
The
a combustion
combustion?
standpoint?
Yeah, and you know, I do think, like you mentioned, the draw is a bit. So you know, there's resistance to the draw, and yeah,
I actually agree with Pagoda on that. I don't think this produces a lot of combustion, and I do think that that's probably a product of that tighter draw. So if I had a criticism, and I very much like this cigar, I agree there's not a ton of combustion, and I almost wish there were more. I mean, a D4 is a Robusto. It's obviously fatter than this, but not by a whole lot. And I definitely get a lot more combustion out of that.
But on the flavor side, I would say it's a perfect combination of spice and sweetness, you know, and cedar, and it's like a great combination of those two flavors coming together.
So they also make a Magnum 50 and a Magnum 54 in regular production, and then they did a limited release of a Magnum 48 at one point. I think twice they did it in the last few years, but that one's a little harder to get. But yeah, 46, 50, and 54 are the main three, and they all vary in flavor and profile.
Yeah, they do. The Magnum 50 is a really different cigar than this. It's just, and we should talk about that. We should review that at some point because it's a good cigar. Not to compare, but this Magnum 46 is really, I enjoy this cigar for what it is. It's, to me, I like this ring gauge from time to time. For me, this size, this is the best standard production cigar in this format for me that I like. And sometimes I just want this format. I want this 46 ring gauge. I just want it at times. It just delivers something that's nice. It's a great change of pace. And a Magnum 46 is one of these types of smokes that kind of like a D4 or an Exclusivo. It's kind of like rotational. It's definitely something that can rotate. For me personally, I dig it.
So I think in the Upmann line, the 46 and the 54 are closer. Then the 50 is a little bit mild to medium. 46 and 54 a little bit more fuller.
Yeah, I would believe that. I've had the 54. I've never had the 50, but I feel like the 50 is very polarizing in the Magnum line.
Yeah.
People either really like it or they really don't.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think that the 54 maybe, and I'm just hypothesizing, may have a little more Ligero, a little bit more Ligero in it, and it gives a little bit more punch. Where maybe the 50, because of the longer format, starts off a little bit kind of smooth and easy, and that some aficionados may say, oh well, it's maybe more of a medium-bodied cigar that builds and little bit more of a journey because it's so long. Who knows? To each his own. We all love Upmann. I mean, I think it speaks to the versatility of the marca. It delivers a little bit for everybody, whether it's the two, the Carnier. It's a really good brand.
I have to say, though, going back to the pairing, I'm not sure why this is the case, but after having this rum with this cigar, I would almost always want to pair a Magnum 46 with rum. And there are few cigars that I would say that about, so I feel strange even saying this, but I've had this with Scotch countless times, and it's been enjoyable, but I don't think the Scotch has like elevated this cigar or been that spectacular a pairing with this cigar. But this rum, for some reason, is making this Magnum 46 more enjoyable than it normally is when I smoke it.
Yeah, it's a perfect pairing, Puba. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment.
Do you think this is a? We're coming up on the holidays. Do you think this is a gift giving cigar?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Depends on who you're giving it to. I don't know if everyone's going to love the Magnum 46. This is like. I feel like this is like a Cuban cigar smoker's kind of cigar. Not that it's not approachable, but there's a little bit of poke to it, and
I think the spice element really, you have to appreciate that, and you have to kind of have a good palate for that in a way.
So I don't know. I have a different perspective. I mean, I don't think the spice is in any way significant or overwhelming. I think it's there, but I don't think it takes the lead in this dance of flavors that you get out of this cigar. And I think I would give this cigar to anyone who is a cigar smoker of any level. I think I would not give this to a novice who rarely smokes a cigar, but I think anyone who regularly smokes cigars, and I've given this to friends who fall somewhere on that spectrum of they're a cigar smoker, whether it's one or two a week or more than that. And I've always gotten a very positive reaction to this cigar. So I would consider this a good gift for the holidays.
So maybe include the Foursquare with this. That would be perfect gift.
Well, it does smell like Christmas. It really does. It is great.
I was gonna say it's a rich flavor, and rich flavor I associate with the holidays. There's a lot of rich food, a lot of indulgence in a way, and to Pagoda's point, it's very Christmassy, and it takes me back to the question before, what is a good holiday cigar gift, right? Like what do you like?
There's so many.
Yeah,
Chef's edition.
Yeah, we've smoked a lot of them.
I think it goes back to Puba's comment: who you're giving it to. What cigars are you giving to a particular person?
I'll send you my list.
I think this is a good-looking cigar. It presents well. It would make a good gift for the right guy.
And it's not a super full cigar. That's why I'm saying this. I mean,
It's universal.
I've given this to, I'm thinking of two people in mind that don't like very full cigars that I've given this to that they've really liked, because it's medium and builds to medium full, but I don't think this cigar ever gets truly full.
So what would you give? Not this cigar. Let's say not this one, but what's a good? You're coming up on the holidays. You're thinking, my Uncle Bob. I think he likes cigars. He may not have the palate that we all lizards have. He may not smoke as many cigars as we have. What's like a good? Hey, I know you appreciate this. I appreciate it as well. Let me share in this love of cigars with you.
I mean, for me, there are two obvious ones. I think if we're going Cuban, I'd give him a D4. And if we're going New World, I'd give him a Padron Exclusivo Maduro.
Yeah.
How about a sampler?
Well, that's what I did. My brother just got into cigars recently, and yesterday, actually, it delivered to him. I sent him 6 cigars, and I sent him, he hasn't had Cuban. He's never had a Cuban before. So I sent him a Magnum 46, knowing we were going to do this on the pod. I sent him a D4, I sent him a Ramon Iones specially selected. I sent him an H. Upmann half Corona, the little one, which I think is a great intro, especially in the winter. It's so short and it's a great smoke. And I sent him some Padrones.
That's a beautiful sampler.
That's
Yeah, he was
fantastic.
thrilled.
Beautiful.
I love samplers. I really do love samplers. Maybe I'm an outlier, but I love a good sampler.
And Giz, we're all your brothers, by the way.
I like a sample
Listen,
of
you
that.
have more crazy shit in your humidor than I will ever dream of. So
Absolutely.
let's not even.
I'll take a sampler.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm your
Good point,
brother.
Rooster.
I am your brother. And my expectations have just gone up
We're all brothers.
for Christmas. Because your humidor, Rooster, is
You talking to me?
stupid.
Are you talking to me?
Is stupid.
What's your most recent purchase, Rooster?
I don't know, like a Arturo Fuente short story, maybe.
No.
Recent is in. What did you buy in the last 24 hours? List it.
Nothing.
Oh, you're so full of shit.
Well, I bought a box of the Ramon Iones Gigantes.
I saw that.
Nice.
Okay,
Those
so
are big boys, right?
Yeah, I
Those are
wanted.
big
So
boys.
that's an example of a box that I wanted that you poached from me.
I'm sorry. I'll give you one. We can split that box. How about that?
Posted for 18 minutes. Rooster.
If we're,
Box is
That was
gone.
18 minutes too long.
if we're splitting that box, let's do that 3 ways. I saw that and I wanted that too.
Okay. No problem. That's fine. We just talked about sharing and caring, and it's the holidays. Why not?
the rum is really amplifying the flavors of this cigar. I don't know whose idea it was to pair these specific things together,
Cuba.
but this is a phenomenal pairing.
I think you should do more pairings with rum than with scotch.
And Rooster, I think you need to start to drink your rum, or I'm going to drink it myself because it's not cheap. It's a start.
He's been smelling it. So
He's been smelling it.
Going back to Senator's point really fast. I mean, obviously, like we talked about, I've smoked a lot of these cigars. I'm getting a totally different experience with the rum than I do with scotch. I mean, it's the same cigar, but it's such a different experience. It's a perfect pairing for the cigar. And I would like he said, like Senator said, I would almost prefer rum over a good rum.
With this stick?
You know, we're all raising our hand to talk. I mean, I am a fan of rum now, and I never was before. This is really quite good. Really quite good.
My point is that maybe cigars are meant to be paired with rum as opposed to scotch. Maybe
Well,
maybe
let's
that's
not
the
go
case.
too far.
Let's not
Take it.
Maybe we go down that path.
Take a trip to Cuba.
Hey, life is about variety, right? You gotta balance.
So have you guys tried any of the Cuban rums? Havana Club?
I have not. It's
I
very
have.
popular.
7-11 year.
I have. Because they have it. So I was in Greece earlier this year. And they have all the Havana Club is distributed out there. I was not impressed, to be honest.
No, huh?
in mojitos, yeah.
I think it's a lot of hype. I mean, you see guys on the secondary market that we buy Cubans from that even have sourced a lot of this Havana Club, and they'll resell it. And it's a lot of hype. It's not great.
I just remember in the past getting pretty hammered on Havana Club. We had just come back from Mexico and we finished like 2 bottles amongst like maybe 4 guys.
Well, the funny thing is, everything I've read, I feel like decades ago, the rum they produced was outstanding. I mean, arguably like best in the world, best in class. And I feel like all of a sudden there was this tons of hype. And I think that they realized they could cut some corners and probably just distribute much more widely. And it's not the same, because what I've tasted in the last 10 years is not that impressive. But there are guys that will talk about bottles that they've had years well before that they are so passionate about. And I think something's changed.
It's congruent. Cigars, Cuba, sugarcane. It's rum. It's all cultivated from the same
GMOs.
What's GMO? What is a GMO?
Genetically modified.
They don't do that in Cuba.
What? They
They
don't
don't?
do GMO.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
They don't do that in
That's
Cuba.
the thing in Cuba.
GMO. They're using. They're like just turning
I'm
over
talking about
soil
sugar.
with a
Maybe they use it for sugar.
They're turning over soil with a mule in a cart. They're not doing GMO.
They're still driving cars from the 50s.
You're right.
I mean,
they don't have any.
To his point,
What's
to
he
Puba's
talking about?
point, they are in Greece. They're not using GMOs. They don't even know what a
No.
GMO is.
So
like,
Monsanto has not quite reached there.
They're
No.
getting there.
no.
They'll get there.
That's an untapped market.
They'll get there. That's on the
That's on the growth.
That's
That's on
on
the
the
growth
agenda.
plan.
that's on the slide deck
But
for next
listen,
year.
this is no secret. Rum and Cuban rum or rum and Cuban cigars. It's like beer and pizza. It's it really is. I mean, so I think it's overdue that we get caught up in Scotch. So I think this was a nice thing to bring to the table and talk about and pair up, because it does pair great.
You know what's interesting about this? We were just talking about hype, and I've never heard of Foursquare before. Puba talked about it as we were preparing for this episode. I was looking at Friends of Habanos on the forum there, and a lot of guys were listing their Christmas wish list, like different cigars and alcohol and stuff they're looking for. You wouldn't believe how many times Foursquare came up from these guys that are trying to find it and can't, namely in Europe and Australia, that they're having such difficulty finding it. Like you had said, it's not distributed as widely there.
They're
But
limited release bottles.
yeah,
They really stick to distribution in the UK and the US because those are the biggest markets. So yeah, they may have a hard time in certain parts of Europe and certain parts of Australia in particular, that they're probably not getting allocation.
There you go. Let's source
They
them
need
and
to
supply
fly in
them.
and go to Bottle King.
I mean, I've always had great drinking experience in the Caribbean. It doesn't matter if I'm drinking beer, if I'm drinking rum, whatever. It's all great.
It's always rum.
I mean,
'Cause you're on vacation.
Even Red Stripe. Red Stripe is such a fantastic beer. Like there's
Jamaican beer.
it's a Jamaican beer. It's got a Pilsner style, but it's not too sweet. It's very true to what it is. There's no added sodium. Like you're not going to have any kind of that, preservatives in it. It's straight off the line, and you drink it and it's fantastic. And, I mean, I honeymooned in Jamaica, and all I did every day, we had a little hot on the water, and I would start drinking Red Stripe at like 9:00 in the morning, and we'd be on the beach, and we'd go to the pool, and then we'd go back to our little hut, and then we'd go back to a beach pagoda thing,
Beach pagoda?
a beach
a
pagoda.
beach pagoda.
You got shanked on
You got
the beach.
stabbed.
I was just gonna
You get
say that.
stabbed when you sit in it.
but like, and it's true. We talked about maintaining the organic nature of the stuff we consume here:
Oh,
wine, beer, rum, whiskey, whatever. The Jamaicans, they do it right.
They know organic.
Yes.
There's
Thank
lots
God.
of organic material. Dude, I've been down there where I'm swimming and a guy pops up out of the water with bracelets and dime bags. And he's like, "Hey man, you want the party, man?" I'm like,
Yeah, sure.
he's like, "My name's Joshua. What's your name?" I'm like,
Puba.
I'm like, "I'm Puma. What do you got?" He's like, "I have bracelets for your pretty girlfriend."
And I got a dime bag for you.
So this cigar has been around since the early 2000s and has gone through some several iterations. I mean, when they first released it, no bands. Then it went to the traditional old brown Upmann band, and then they moved to this double banded with the classic Upmann that you would find on a Sir Winston or any of their other cigars, and then the second band with the Magnum 46. But it's been around quite some time, and people love these cigars, man. And they're not that expensive. I mean, you can get them for between $10 and $15. I mean, for what it is, I mean, it's a great value.
So what makes it a Magnum?
That's a great question. I don't know if that's ever been
What
disclosed.
makes Cuba? I don't know. Who the hell knows?
It's got to be flavor,
assuming
right?
that it's
I think it's
Magnum.
flavor.
It's
I think
gotta be
that's
flavor.
The thing. You think of the Upmann line and what they had before the Magnum line. I mean, they weren't as full flavored as this Magnum 46. And I think that was, you think the Magnum 54, that's a full flavored Cuban. So I think it was meant to signify this is going to pack some more flavor and more intensity.
But not the 50.
Yeah,
That's
but not
true.
in
And that's
Frisbee.
why I think that's so polarizing, because it almost doesn't fit in the line.
Right.
The Magnum, see, it's polarizing.
I mean, to me, Magnum kind of defines that it's a bigger ring gauge, but this is a 46 ring gauge.
But to me, though, like Magnum to me, because I've, versus other Upmans, and you guys may disagree with me, I think some of the other Upmans, they knock on the door. I think this kicks the door in with flavor. I don't think it kicks the door in with strength. It doesn't kick your ass, but it makes itself known from that first light. It's a full flavored cigar, not full strength, but full flavor. There's a lot going on
I think
here.
it's a medium bodied, but
Very flavorful.
flavor wise, it's there.
Definitely. And I mean, Puba, you're an Upman. You are a major Upman fan. Obviously, the Upman 2, that's your top 3, top 5 cigar.
Yeah,
Sir
what happened to
Winston.
Connie A?
Connie A.
Yeah, it's one of my top. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no It's just I love the Connoisseur A. I don't
There's
know.
there's
I
a
don't
little
know. No, well, I mean,
You were very bullish, and then all of a sudden you got a little quieter on the Kanye.
well, because I hoard them. It's because I'm not. I mean, I'll be honest. I think there's certain cigars from Upmann that are really well suited for aging. One of them's the two. The two is a cigar that I'll ask the group a question. Do you see? Is the Upmann number 2 ubiquitous? No.
No, it's hard to find.
No, it's not. People buy those boxes and they snatch them up and they put them away in their humidor. And they do it for a reason, because that cigar really sets up to age really well. And when you have a Lub 2014, 2015, you're today, it's really, really a well-regarded cigar that's known to age well.
Thank you for offering for us to review those next week, Puba.
It's in the sampler.
You know what? Maybe we'll do it.
It's in the sampler.
We should do it. But that's the hard cigar. That's a hard box to find these days. So, and with the Connoisseur A, that's another cigar I think that just needs a little bit of. It's a La Casa de Habana release. It needs a little more time too. Just it needs to set up. They're bigger ring gauge cigars. This is kind of the 46. It'll give you, you can smoke these younger, and they're really, really good, and you get all those signature Upmann flavors, sooner in a more convenient kind of steady rotation way. And I don't think that's a knock against those other Vitolas or releases. It's just the way it is.
I mean, I bought a box of 21s this week. I got them today, and I don't plan to touch them for years.
Twos?
Upmann 2s. Yeah.
So
And-
can I wage a small complaint with this stick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've had a lot of these, and smoking this right now, I do wish the draw were a little looser, or a little more open. I feel like it, there's that resistance, and I'm not sure that that's ideal for me. I don't think it is so bad that it completely, ruins the experience, but I wish that there was a more open draw, like when I light up a RAS or a D4, or, plenty of Cubans.
I don't know. Mine's not bad.
Mine's not bad.
It's not that loose, but it's not like overly
Yeah,
tight.
mine's
either.
fine, actually.
No, mine's not overly tight either. You just have to pull a little more than you would, I think, a lot of the other Cubans that we smoke.
I actually
Just
prefer
my preference.
I prefer a little bit of work. When it's too loose, I feel like it's too loose. I mean, maybe yours is a little tighter than this. It's very possible.
So
I mean, this is a hand rolled stick, so it can happen.
So how was the 2017 Sir Winston that I gave you
That
the
was
other day
outstanding.
from whistle to whistle?
Totally.
Okay.
It was outstanding. I said to Gizmo, he was with me when I smoked that. I had mixed feelings on the Sir Winston, the first one I had, which ironically I think also was from Puba. In that I really liked the flavors I got from it, but I wasn't sold that it was this spectacular experience that a lot of non-Cuban aficionados would say that a Sir Winston is. But that one you gave me, I said to Giz, I said, now I see why people pursue this cigar aggressively. And I almost wish I didn't have this because now I need to find a box of them.
Oh, yeah. And that's another cigar that really needs aging. You know, you get a box of that, you really don't want to smoke a Sir Winston off the truck. You want to let that sit for, what, 4, 5, 6 years at least?
Those, yeah. You if you're lucky enough to find it, let it just, yes. You take one out every, you know, you want 3, 4 years. That's what you want to do. You know, that's a special cigar. They come and then they're gone. You know, you don't want to.
You don't see them that often.
You don't see them
don't,
that
no.
often. You just don't.
And they're not cheap either, you know.
And they're very expensive.
And I mean, from an Upmann standpoint, I mean,
but they are amazing. Like when you sit down and you smoke one, like that's a real trip.
It is, and it's funny because in contrast to the Magnum 46 we're all smoking now, the Sir Winston, and I feel like a lot of other H. Upmans, they're this mild, medium, smooth, creamy, elegant cigar. And what I like that Upmann has been able to do with their brand is there's such a range, I feel like, within Upmann of intensity of flavor, where a Mag 46, I think, packs a lot more flavor than a Sir Winston does. And I love that there's something for everyone, it feels like to me, in the Upmann line, which is really nice.
It's a very complex, balanced smoke.
Yep.
It has got a bit spicier towards the end.
It really has, yeah. It's a lot more spicy. But this is a really good it's a utilitarian kind of nice. It's something in your rotation. I think every humidor should have a little cabin in there, ready to go.
Can I? Sorry, this is completely off topic, but how we light our cigars. I think a lot of us use butane lighters. There are a number of guys that prefer matches. I will never understand how I've been in multiple cigar lounges. The reason I'm venting about this, I was just in a cigar lounge in Houston this week that I went there. There were no matches anywhere to be found. I bought 2 very pricey cigars there. I think you all know the Davidoffs I'm talking about. And no matches. I asked for a lighter. Well, you know, we'll have someone come around. They don't like to really give out the lighters. And I finally, they lit my cigar. Okay, great. And I said, can you just leave a thing of matches? So if I need to touch up my cigar, I can do that. And they said, we don't have any matches. We don't give out we don't do matches here. How on earth
It's fucking lunacy.
is this possible?
It's fucking lunacy. and I love matches, and I always I like to use matches. I used to travel with more matches. I think lighting a cigar with a soft flame is actually the proper way to do. If you don't have wind competing with you, you should probably light a cigar with a soft flame, in my view.
And it's an issue when you're traveling. You can't carry a lighter.
Right.
You can't carry
Right.
a lighter. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe the reason this really pissed me off is because I was so this was Houston I'm telling you about that I was frustrated. They said, we don't carry matches. We don't do matches. I was in Pittsburgh once. First time. I've only been to Pittsburgh once. I actually had a good experience there. So credit to Pittsburgh. I've had a very negative impression of that city, but their ballpark there for their baseball team, fantastic. You'll pay $15 and you'll literally be sitting first row behind
That's
home
awesome.
plate. It's
That's
unbelievable.
cool.
And there's a cigar lounge in Pittsburgh that is 3 blocks from the stadium. Perfect setup. You go watch a baseball game, you can have cigars right after, and it's some Rocky Patel lounge. And I know, you know, cue the Rocky Patel vitriol in this group. And the crazy thing is, I go to this cigar lounge. It's actually a beautiful lounge. They've got this big marble bar in the center of the lounge. And I buy some sticks from them. I order some drinks, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and I say, okay, no matches on any of the tables, no lighters. I call someone over. Do you have a lighter on you that I can light my cigar I just bought from you? No, let me ask someone else. They ask another person. No, they don't have a lighter. I finally have to bring over the manager. 20 minutes has gone by. Manager comes over and I said, I'm sorry. I just spent X dollar amount here. I still haven't even lit my cigar. How are there not matches on the table? And this woman says to me, Rocky Patel does not believe in matches.
Oh,
As if I needed another reason to disqualify Rocky Patel as a brand. I mean, it's just fucking absurd.
Well, I mean, at least provide spills, which are easy for any cigar store to provide. I mean, you can make your own from
Anything. I felt like I was gonna have to rub twigs together to get my cigar lit.
Yeah, a spill. I used to carry spills to the lounge, and but who knows?
That's a pretty dopey statement.
Doesn't believe in matches. How do you think cigars were lit before we invented butane lighters? I mean, none of this makes any sense.
No.
So you know what I do? Like when I travel, the first stop is at like a Dollar Tree or one of those places, and get a butane lighter for like $1.50, $2.
They don't sell butane. They just have like the Bic cigarette lighters.
Not the Bic. They have the butane ones. now.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to start
Yeah.
doing this.
a lot
Exactly.
of
And they're
meth
refillable.
heads out there. A lot of meth. A lot of guys. Team Crystal Meth is all over the
God
U.S.
bless them.
You stand outside when I go down to South Florida, which I
Exactly.
do quite often. I mean, you can see Cooter out there and
Missing teeth.
with his pickup truck and the Mountain Dew grill, just waiting with his butane lighter. So they sell them.
That's all.
All right, boys, we're coming to the end of the H. Upmann Magnum 46. Are we ready to give it a rating?
oh yeah.
I think so.
Everybody ready? Rooster, you're up.
Let's start with Bam today.
All right, let's mix it
Is
up.
that right?
Other
Mix it-
side of
mix
the
it
room.
up.
I'm at an 8.
Grinder,
I'm at a 9.
Pagoda,
8.
Senator.
8.
I am in an 8. Borderline 9, but an 8.
I'm in an 8.
Same. 8.
8.1.
There you go.
It's a solid recommend.
Solid recommend
Oh yeah.
on the Magnum 46. The presentation's nice too. It comes in a 25 count slide lid box, cedar box, stacked. They're not stuffed in a dress box.
I got to say, the most surprising rating here to me was Gizmo.
I love this cigar, man.
But you gave it an 8.
I did. I wish I should have given it a 9.
What
it's
knocked
an
it
8.
down for you? I'm very curious.
Honestly, I've had to touch it up a few times. The draw is not as incredible as I would like, and under a microscope, it's an 8. Under a
All right.
microscope, it's an 8.
So that's still a strong recommend. I
It
think I'm
is.
the one. I've said this many times. Anything over an 8, if you're a listener, you should go out and smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say that this is a cigar that we'll all smoke on a weekly basis. There's
Absolutely.
no doubt about it. Regardless of the rating, 8.1 is a very good recommend. But this is a weekly smoke, no doubt.
And it fits anywhere in the rotation too, right? The
Oh,
beginning
yeah.
of the night, end of the night, whatever you want to
Oh
do.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It works really, really well.
No doubt. Always a box in the humidor. Always.
Fantastic cigar. All right, boys, an 8.1 on the Magnum 46, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, loungelizardspod, P-O-D, that's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.